You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
What up, Cal fans? We are back with a very special episode of Golden Tweets. Tweet, tweet. This is, of course, the Golden Bearcast. I almost said this is, of course, the Blue Wire Podcast Network. We are a proud partner of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I am joined by Rob, who looks like he's ready to take his shot, as the great Alexander Hamilton said. I'm not throwing away my shot. What do you got for me, Rob?
You've got mail. Is that?
Yeah.
Where's that rank? Where's that ranked?
I think high.
Is that up there? Is that up
Yeah,
there? Okay.
I thought it was great.
All right.
I don't know if people, they obviously can't see this. You have to appreciate the dedication this man is going into the You've Got Mail impression. You can see his jaw change to be more like, what was his name? Alfred? Elwood?
Elwood, yeah.
More like Elwood. You could just see it as Rob goes to adapt to the American baby boomer accent and manipulates the perfect impression of the You've Got Mail. So I hope that brings it to life for our listeners of just how committed Rob is to this.
Andy, what movie was that where you and I watched together that was like the phone call with like Danny Glover? You know, like it's the dude in the call center. He's like calling people, and it got weird towards the end with like Army Hammer and people turning into horses and stuff.
What?
It like took place in Oakland.
Oh,
What movie was that?
yeah.
Pardon my interruption, or something along those lines, right?
Was it what, the Jordan Peele one?
No, not the Jordan Peele one.
Or was it the it was with the coup, the guy from the coup.
Yeah.
My favorite mutiny. Who is that? Boots Riley. It was the Boots Riley.
Yeah, it's the Boots Riley movie. What movie is that? What movie was that we watched?
Where they turn into horses. Oh gosh.
We came out of that movie and we were like, what the hell did we just watch? Sorry to bother you. Boots Riley. Yes.
I love Boots
Featuring
Riley.
Lakeith Stanfield. Yeah, Lakeith Stanfield was in that movie. Tessa Thompson. Stephen Yeun. Army Hammer. Yeah. Whenever we do this, remember there's that scene where he first goes into the call center and Danny Glover shows him that he has to talk in his white voice.
Yes.
When he calls, and the voice changes. That's how I feel when we do this. I have to turn some switch on in my voice box.
Dude, I can see it. There's a visual change in the way that you approach your alignment of your jaw that says, I have to tap into my baby boomer white man voice.
It's just so stupid. It's so stupid. But yeah, it reminded me of that movie as you were talking about that.
Let's get to the tweets.
Let's get to the tweets. All right. I'm gonna go from most recent to the longest one. So the most recent comes from Al and Joe's Pa. We're 1 year closer to a more affordable Wilcox buyout upon termination, which is necessary if this program is to remain an FBS goal. So that's more of a take than it is a question.
It's a little doom and gloomy, but I mean, I don't know. I think we both agree the stakes are really high right now.
Yeah.
So the stakes are really high. I just don't. I don't pretend I know what needs to happen in order to change the financial position of Cal, other than hopefully we had a strong position in Bitcoin. Like, like there's got to be some of these things that maybe we were a little bit more in the know on, and
Maybe that's why Rich Lyons was at the New York Stock Exchange and Oski was ringing the end of the New York Stock Exchange. It was there to get money to finance our team.
exactly private equity. Who knows?
And yeah.
But we're gonna have to think outside the box. But until then, we have a coach that's done an excellent job with creating and developing excellent representatives of this university.
Mm-hmm.
And what people always forget is that Tedford was not let go for his performance on the field.
Yep.
He was let go because he could not answer the question of how to get his kids to graduate. That's exactly what Sandy Barber said. And I think we forget about that a lot when we go and revisit that. So,
Okay, I think that's a good comment to the comment. All right, SG Bear, our dear friend who was on bus number 2 with us. Pessimism abounds, but where are some of the areas that give you hope for the future? I can't remember. I can't tell if he's talking about just football or if he's talking about like the athletic department in general.
let's go football because I think the AD one is just a longer answer.
Yeah. Football?
I personally think that from a football perspective, so how would you, let's like put a little bit of like a Redux hat on here. How would you change the team going into next year? I think you would make an obvious change with like you would probably have Blesh go out and hire an OC. Like maybe like a young up and coming coach that could study underneath him. That would be my preference. So I don't know if that requires
someone to be let go.
Yeah.
But I don't know what you do.
So I don't know what to do there, but I do think that would be an easy one. I just think O-line has to be the priority. Look at we just have to get back to being able to run the football. And like it wasn't going to change the outcome of the Syracuse game. It might have because they had really bad run defense, right? But against us, they look great. But I'm more so mean with the games where we have these leads we're blowing. We just can't run the football. And I think we need to get, like, the thing I noticed with when I was watching Wisconsin-Oregon game, both those running backs in that game, I'm not going to know their names, but for Oregon and Wisconsin, they're not like the skinny, speedy guys.
Yeah.
They're also not the Derrick Henrys of the world that are just like massive men. I can't even talk about him because he's an outlier. Yeah. He's an outlier to the rule. Like he's also so fast, but he's not like the bruiser, but they're just kind of the blend of both. Like I think about like LaMichael James or, we can say our own running back, like the Shane Vereen's of the world. I think it's like it's the era of the really versatile kind of like Chase Brown type running back. Like Afonso was that to me. Garendo on the Niners is that to me. Mm-hmm. But almost he's like a little too tall. I say it's like those backs. So I think Javian Thomas has the ability to get there. But I'm really looking for someone that's a little bit bigger, but still has the shiftiness so that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. I just don't know if that's something that's heavily sought after. Like this, the way like everyone's like, oh, we need to get a CMC. But that's the one thing I noticed in watching that game is and watching our games, I feel like we have lost the ability to kind of shed those tackles. And I think a lot of it's on the O-line because we're probably trying to shed tackles from D linemen instead of linebackers and DBs. But then I also think that there's just a certain type of running back. Like the Marshawn mold is not the guy that's going to kill you with over-the-top speed. Patrick Laird is not going to kill you with over-the-top speed. But how they are going to kill you is like making the right reads and breaking the two tackles. That means they're going to get a 15-yard gain instead of a 4.
Look, there's so many like answers to go through this, and I think, but I will say this, and I've been talking to Nam and Peter about this pretty well because we've been trying to rationally think about how we got here, and was there any point where we made a mistake? I don't think there's an issue with the process, and so it's gonna be a little bit big picture stuff, okay? So like everyone's talking about, we need to go out into the NIL and get offensive linemen, right? We have to understand where our limitations lie. We have a finite number in the NIL. We don't have the 20 to, whatever $1 million that like Florida State and those blue guys have. So if those guys are taking away the top tier, right, guys, and then those guys are also taking away the absolute top tier high school offensive linemen, then out of who's left, which demographic do we need to target the most? And it's, Nam pointed out, it's two. One is guys who are former blue chip guys that didn't get the playing time at these blue bloods that are looking to make and prove themselves. And the second demographic is FCS guys that are looking to make the jump into FBS football. That's the only demographic we financially are able to do. On top of that, we don't have the luxury of bringing in a 4-star, 5-star offensive lineman as a freshman and having them develop in 2-3 years, because we need to win right now. Like the urgency is to win right now. So what have we done the last couple of years? We've gone out and gotten those guys in. We've gotten from those two demographics, particularly on the offensive line, we have gotten those guys in. We have not been able to get everyone that we've wanted, but those are the types of guys we brought in. I'm just going to say names just because, we're talking about the on-field performance. We haven't gotten the production out of guys like Rush Reimer that we might have expected. But for every time you get a Rush Reimer type in, you get a Will McDonald and you get a TJ Sessions. So you're going to miss. It's part of, as I said in our previous podcast, it's a part of loving this imperfect game. Not every player is going to be perfect. And it's not like we can cut someone and then get in a free agent mid-season. You have to ride with who you've got. So that's kind of where we're at. So the process of getting these guys and attacking the right demographic, I think, is the right move, is what we're doing. Now, talent eval, that's a whole different question that I don't have answers for.
Yeah.
But in terms of who we're trying to get and from what areas we're trying to get, I think we're doing the right thing with the finite amount of resources that we have. If you want us to go out and get the 4-star guys or the 5-star guys, then donate to the NIL. Allow us to be able to spend that money on that. But if, like we made 2.5 mil, I think, off of College Game Day when we did the NIL fundraiser for football. Let's say that's our budget, right? And we don't know what other schools have. How much of that 2.5 million budget are you willing to blow on just offensive linemen? Or allocate to offensive line? Because the average going rate for a starting quarterback in NIL is apparently 6 figures. For a guy that has starting experience in. So if that's the case for a starting quarterback of any level, then an offensive lineman with that much talent is probably commanding like high 6 figures. Sorry, I meant 7 figures.
I thought we were flushed with cash in the NIL, but then has that position changed?
I don't know. I'm not saying we're flushed. It's just people think that the overall narrative from the outsiders think that we don't have money, which we do. Yeah. But we're not at the levels of the Florida State, Ohio States, and Oregons. So we have to allocate that properly. And, we can't invest it all into one specific unit. You gotta pick and choose, and you gotta find some diamonds in the rough. And we have found it. Like we found Barrett Miller last year, right? We brought him over from Stanford, and he was a above average left tackle for us.
Yeah.
Like we brought in Will McDonald, and he has been an above average center for us. But Vadikani not being healthy all season has hampered that. Having to throw in Frederick Williams as a freshman at right tackle has not been great in that regard either. Bastion Swinney being hurt has not helped that either. So yeah, it's just a matter of like how they juggle that, and that's not my job or Andy's job. That's the coach's job and the NIL collectives, and how they decide to allocate that money. But once again, as we said earlier, that there are tangible ways for us to help, and if you want to see that move forward, it's to donate.
It's definitely not said now.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's some areas of hope. The process is good. So hopefully the process is good again, and we actually get more hits than duds this year. All right, next one. Oso de Oro says, the Bears are not who we thought they were. Well, I think the Bears are exactly who we thought they were.
Are they? Okay, well, I will say that we talked about this last week, and the big thing for me is we said, is this the same team playing? Is this a different team or is this the same team? And I think I said this is the same team, and I think you said this is a different team. It's definitely the same team.
Yeah.
I give you a lot of credit. I think there's elements. I didn't see Keon Gray's.
He played. I think he's on a. It looks like he's on a snap count.
Okay. But yeah, I think there's elements that are different, but by and large, like at this point, I think we pretty much our identity is our identity.
Yep.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write a million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
What's up, guys? It's the champ, Sean O'Malley, here to talk to you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money while watching football. Run your game on Prize Picks.
Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just download the Prize Picks app and use code SPOTIFY. That's code SPOTIFY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Yeah.
Not much else.
Not much else to say.
All right. Next one from Adams. How on earth were we so completely unready to play the game of football last week? How does the coaching staff, the captains, everyone not have the team pumped up and ready to go at the beginning of every single game? We played the entire first half flat. WTF. Look, I kind of said I was going to mention this on the previous pod, but I kind of didn't. Steve Kroner asked a really good question a few years ago, and I always take it to heart when I see a team come out with little energy like this. He asked Justin once about was it Bill he said it's either Bill Parcells or some other coach said that usually you can pick up signs throughout the week if the team is going to come out with low energy. It's just intuitively you can pick that up. And he asked Wilcox once about like were there any signs to it. That's kind of the question I asked guys that I know around the team, and every single person unequivocally was like, absolutely not. Like, they were so pumped coming off that Wake Forest win to come home and like just to keep this win streak going of after putting up 2 40-point games and winning both, that they were like, the energy was great in practice, the energy was great in meetings, the energy was great everywhere. And then I think coming out, and then the stadium, I think also like played a part into it, where it was just like the energy was so low in the stadium just because it was like randomly super cold, and I don't think anyone expected it to be that cold, so a lot of everyone just kind of bundled up, and then the energy kind of just zapped out of the game, of the stadium, after that first interception by Nando, and like that's when it fully disappeared. I think when they scored on their first drive, the 3 points, you're like, okay. But then when Nando gave up that interception, I think it like fully zapped all the energy out, and then it was just weird vibes the rest of the way. And so
the vibes were off.
It was just it just felt really off. And I'm gonna try and pull up a text that I got
yeah,
from a buddy of mine.
I still think it was. I still think that I always wonder what our visiting fans think for the first time when Syracuse comes out and they come to a stadium and there's just like entire sections that are empty. It's just so weird, man. It's so typical West Coast. It's very typical West Coast fandom.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen in the Northeast or the Midwest the same way.
No, it doesn't. I mean,
And that's what we say. It's like,
Yeah.
this is your West Coast experience. We like to enjoy our teams when they are good, and when they are bad, we shall go sip our wines by the ocean front.
I'm just going to point to that Wake Forest game last Friday every single time then, too. Because that Wake Forest game was dead empty in that stadium.
Bro, they have 5,000 students.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, but they only have an 8,000. It's like 8,000 fan stadium. So, anyways, that's not a shot at Wake Forest. I'm just saying, I get it. But the text I got was awful energy, shaking my head, no excuse. The talent is there, but it's ridiculous. There's no excuses. Things got to change.
That's inside the program?
That's from inside the program. So, I think they know it as well. So I think we're in a good. We'll be fine, in the long run. But once again, I keep coming back to it. I think that's my theme of this week for all our pods. We love an imperfect game. We can't expect 18 to 22-year-olds to come out at an emotionally high state and charged every single weekend.
I do think that there is a little bit of an unrealistic expectation that we can't have one game in the season that is a throwaway. One game.
Just nothing worked.
It's happened before.
Yeah.
Remember, like against UCLA, like we've seen this happen. I just feel like we've seen this happen, and I don't know. Like this one, I just kind of came away from it. I was like, cool, flush it,
Yeah.
move on.
It happens to every team. Like remember the
it
UCLA
happens
game
to
last year?
Any sports team.
Yeah.
Any sports team. Like I literally can say with softball. One night we showed up and we scored 5 runs. We're like, what the hell? What's happening? Why are we terrible? We're like, yeah, all right, you know what? It's not end of the world, but good wake up call. Move on. Like that's the way I see it.
Sure.
And at least we lost before the big game. You know what I mean? At least
got
this
it out.
wasn't. Yeah, because like if that was the big game, then goodness, disaster. But like now, I think there'll be a little bit of extra. Hey, we got to get this shit done.
Yep.
Because like SMU is right around the corner, and I do expect us to get up for the SMU game and play really well. I would not be surprised if that game was tight.
Yeah. Joe Kenyon says, how, what, when, where, why? That's my question. Every 6-6 Cal season is similar to the taste of candy corn. Sugar, nothing.
That's actually amazing.
That's a great question. That's a great tweet.
Every time I predict 6-6, I'm just gonna go candy corn.
It's a great
Sugar,
a great comparison.
Nothing.
Some people love it, some people hate it, but overall it's absolutely useless. All right, last one. Tyler tweets at us, updated bowl odds. I think our bowl eligibility odds still is somewhere in the 70%. It's dropped from 90 something, but we basically had 2 shots. We realistically, as a favored team, we had 2 shots to get to 6 wins, which was Syracuse and the big game. So that percentage is going to drop significantly if we lose this week, but that's kind of where we're at. In terms of which bowl we would go to, it pretty much still stays the same because regardless of record, as long as you're bowl eligible, the picking slots will stay the same. So if we get Colorado to move on to the playoff, as I kind of expect them to, we'll get the same slot. So Vegas, I think, is still on the table. I think Sun Bowl is definitely still on the table. LA Bowl is still on the table, and I think LA Bowl is actually looking more and more likely. But that's if we win this week.
Yeah, we gotta take care of business. Big time.
Take care of business first. Yeah, but
losing to Stanford, I will not be as chill. I just will not be as chill.
no, we won't. Not to this Stanford team. Absolutely not to this Stanford team.
You said that with authority.
Dude, they're bad, man. They're really bad. Like, I feel bad. Okay. So so Tyler, just to wrap up your question, that's kind of where we're at. It's looking like LA Bowl if we get to 6. There is an outside chance we get to Vegas if they like us more, because two things: UCLA and SC are playing for bowl eligibility today or this week. They're playing against each other this week, and whoever wins probably gets to a bowl, because SC only has this game and one more game left, and they're at 5 wins, so they're playing the LA game, and then they have Notre Dame, so they're probably losing that one, so they have to win this one to get to 6. LA, on the other hand, is at 4 wins, so if they win here, their last game of the season is against Fresno State, so they're probably getting the 6 wins in that regard. So maybe one of the Vegas schools decides to take the LA school that's left. But there is a version here where one of the LA schools do not make it too. If LA wins against SC, SC loses to Notre Dame, and LA loses to Fresno State, both teams will not go bowling this year.
What is happening? Like, what's going on at SC? Are they going to get rid of Lincoln Riley?
I don't know. They just got a 5-star quarterback, so probably not.
Yeah, they would be so stupid to do that.
But yeah, so that's kind of that. Andy, the one story I kind of want to end on is there was a rumor floating around that Coach Taylor for Stanford was not going to allow his seniors to walk on senior day. And it kind of came out as like a fact. He kind of like acknowledged it at a presser. How do you feel about that?
Well, walk us through. Like, what do you mean by walk?
So, like, you know how when we have a senior day,
You walk out of the tunnel with the
we
rose.
walk out of the tunnel, each player one at a time with their family, all the pomp and circumstance, whether it be the lays, usually, I don't know if they still do it for football. They do it for basketball, where it's like a plaque of like their jersey, that they can take home and put on. But Troy Taylor said, let's see, I'm trying to look up the tape. Senior day. I can't seem to find it. I think it was Intellectual Brutality who.
I got it.
You got it?
It's in the SF gate.
Yeah, there you go.
Stanford football coach Troy Taylor confirmed that his program will institute a controversial new senior day policy for the end of the season. Seniors would not be allowed to participate in the senior day festivities if they had any NCAA eligibility left. Press conference later that day, he was asked about those reports and if there's anyone on the team who wants to participate in the traditional tunnel walkout who will not be able to. Taylor's response essentially said, Stanford head coach Troy Taylor has decided seniors with remaining eligibility will not be allowed to participate in the traditional senior day tunnel walkout. With all due respect, this is a and then I have not had any players come to me that wouldn't be walking or request a walk. The premise is, and it's been a little bit different because of COVID. Last year was unique, but what we're doing is if you have a year of eligibility left, we're assuming you're coming back and you're going to play for the card. You know what this is, Rob? This is a bunch of social media bullshit.
You think this is weird? You don't think this is weird though?
This is it. This to me has internet written all over it. I just don't care. Do whatever you want. You're the coach of the team. And like it'd be one thing if you said yeah, or if there was a bunch of players that were like, yeah, I wanted to walk and now I can't walk. But if there's like 0 players that are having, like, this is just a bunch of made up stuff by fans that are upset about nothing. This is the algorithm. The algorithm is telling people to be mad about this. And I'm not all that upset because it's at Stanford, but like, I don't care about this. No one will care about this in 2 weeks. I don't think. Well, I don't think anyone will care.
I mean, it was a story last week, so I think it was just one of those things where I'm like, I've never heard of a coach not allowing any part of their team like to not be able to walk.
Well, it's just, I
and
mean,
celebrate.
all he's saying is, I get it. Like, if you're gonna, I don't necessarily agree with that. If you're graduating from the university, I think you should be able to walk. But at the end of the day, like, it's kind of a little bit of a hat tip to the old era where it's like, look, if you were with the program, you're with the, it was none of this grad transfer BS. And if Stanford has good enough grad programs to keep you there, and you're literally just going to like get highlighted, then, you're kind of out for yourself versus the collective. And I'm like, I generally side with like the collective. Like, I really like going to Japan and where people put the betterment of the collective group above the individual interests of their own. And so for me, it just doesn't rub me the wrong way, because like, I think all the people that are there for the right reasons will have the opportunity anyways. And those that are there for the wrong reasons, or maybe just for their own reasons, who gives a shit? Like, you're going to do what you're going to do. That's why I say it's like not going to be a story, because no one's going to care. If you're in it for yourself, you're going to, or if you're just in it to like go, you don't even have, I'm not even saying it's a selfish thing. If you just choose that you don't want to go down that path, fine. Don't go down that path. Go do your thing, grad transfer, whatever. And yeah, cool. No love lost. Like, I don't know. But there is something about it. It's like some of these traditions were not built around this idea of like, everybody gets the juice box after the game. Everybody gets the oranges after the game. Like, everybody gets participation trophies. It's like, when you're talking about, I didn't get to wear an athlete satchel or whatever the hell you would call it. Sash.
Yeah, tassels, sash, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get to wear an athlete sash at Cal, despite the fact that I had athlete status my freshman year. I didn't spend 4 years as an athlete. I didn't graduate as an athlete. But should I have gone and like felt entitled to having that moment? I don't know. I don't think so. Like, I don't know. Is it old school? But like, you know what I mean? It's
for me, it's less about the 1 year guys and it's more about like because Stanford doesn't, they don't hit the transfer portal, but it's like someone like, let's say like Barrett Miller, who we had last year, right? He had 1 year left of eligibility. In this circumstance, even though he spent 4 years at Stanford, would not be able to walk at Stanford on senior day because he had 1 year of eligibility left.
Assuming that he had that eligibility left at Stanford.
Yeah, I guess kind of. I mean, because you would need to get into grad school at Stanford, right? Like that, but that's another process you would need to get to. But that's not an answer you're going to get until after the summer.
We all know that Stanford doesn't actually make people apply to things. Once you're in with your 4.0 crystal GPA.
Well, for undergrad, sure, but yeah, I mean, I don't think they tend not to. What's it? I mean, it's a bit like us for a while too. We tended not to give grad student parts or places to guys from our own undergrad. Like, they wanted to diversify their student body. So, which I get, but like, that's what I mean. Like, so those types of guys are the guys that like aren't able to get their pomp and circumstance moment, despite having done it for that university for that long. So that's the part that sucks.
I see that. I see that. I want to hear from those. If those people are upset, then sure. Yeah. But if it's just like random online posters that are saying Troy Taylor's killing Stanford football, first of all, that's what he was supposed to do. Thank you.
He was our sleeper cell.
Exactly. What do you think a double agent does? Hello? 007 just doesn't walk on in there and say, hey, this is great. Let me start sipping tea and having crumpets with all the bad guys. No. Gotta complete the mission.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, I don't think you understand that 00 doesn't mean double agent. that's the 00 of 007 doesn't mean that he's a double agent, but okay.
Thought it was the 00 program.
Oh my god. Oh, we need to teach you about the James Bond world. But
it's a wrap, Rob. There's no better finish than that.
No better finish than that. I really can't. But yeah, folks, it's big game week. Enjoy big game week. I don't know when I'm going to put this out. Probably on Thursday or Friday. By this point, though, Andy, our Friends of the Pod episode will be out. And people will have listened to it. Do you have any addendums from that conversation you would like to, give the people before I close out?
No, because you still haven't listened to it, and I don't really want to spoil it for you. But I will just say, like, it was one of my favorite conversations. Giorgio is one of the best people ever, and to hear his full story, and to have the opportunity to, I think, hear from someone that personifies grit and perseverance, and is just an inspiration to me as a professional, and of everything that you would want to be in a human, and someone that I think we should all aspire to emulate. So it was a surreal moment for me as I was praying that everything recorded properly, and just sitting there and thinking to myself, wow, I felt just so grateful to be a part of that conversation.
Yeah. So there you have it. That was part of the special pod that we dropped this week for Big Game Week. So y'all got 4 pods this week. You got part 1, part 2 of our regular pod, I guess the pod with Giorgio and this Golden Tweets. So that's a wrap here. Keep the axe. Let's win.
Retain the axe. Retain the axe.
Retain the axe. It's our axe. We're going to keep it here in its rightful place. And, of course, as always, go Bears.
Go Bears.